Oh, yeah, it's the outlaw John Roca here to be one of the co-hosts for Strong Style, another brand new episode coming to you live here on the Outlaw Nation channel. And I'm joined by my co-host down there, Orlando, holding it down. How are you doing, Aaron Turner?
Doing the best, man. Doing the absolute best I can be right now, considering the world has kind of gone to hell. Still, but slowly getting back together. Who knows when we're going to, kind of say this every week now. Like, who knows when we're going to be back to normal. But my hair is growing back, so that's good.
Yeah, look at that. It's growing back on top and on the sides. I see it. Same thing here. So I was like, oh, wow, didn't I just get it cut? But I respect you repping Orlando FC. Look at that. That's a nice little MLS shout out. Respect, Orlando City. And what do you have back there? An old school WWF ring? What's that behind you?
I sure do. It's a, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder have a podcast, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. It's that's my custom Major Wrestling Figure podcast ring. So a little shout out to them. The Orlando City shirt, go Lions and all that good stuff. My work gave me this for free because we're a sponsor. So I'll take a free shirt.
Well, listen, if you get a large, send it to me. I love Orlando City FC. I'm a big fan of them. But today, you guys know, for those of you who are new to the show, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who are not new and returning, thank you so much for joining us again for another live episode of Strong Style. This is how the show is going from now on. We found that more people want to enjoy watching us live than they do watching it later after we pre-record it. So we think this is a great way to bring you the show and have you come on aboard and take chances and enjoy us revisiting classic matches from the history of pro wrestling, or significant matches or legendary matches from the history of pro wrestling. We did a lot of WWE to start out the show, so you can definitely go back and see old episodes of WWE stuff. But recently we've started to move away from WWE so that we can include more federations, more historical matches from different places like NJPW, TNA, WCW, and today we have one from the Ring of Honor, Generico, who some of you may know now as Sami Zayn, versus Kevin Steen, who is now Kevin Owens. And this is for the Ring of Honor Championship, Heavyweight Championship at Ladder War 4, or the name of the match is Ladder War 4 in 2012, I think it was. But Aaron, what made you select this match for this episode?
Yeah, Final Battle 2012 is the pay-per-view. I didn't get sorry about that. No. But yeah, the reason I picked this is because these guys have a storied history going back a long, long time. They're best friends in real life. Mm-hmm. I think that's well documented. They've had, quite a rivalry really since 2008. So it's been going on for almost 12 years. Probably, professional wise, even before that on the independents and the Canadian independents and stuff like that. So these guys have known each other since they were teenagers and have wrestled each other since they were teenagers. I just kind of thought it would be a cool bit of history to bring up between these guys as they both really ascended to about the top of the WWE, or as the top of professional wrestling, two of the most popular guys in the business today and two of the nicest guys in the business today.
Yeah, well, not according to Jim Cornette, of course, who had his issues with Kevin Steen and Kevin Owens. And he does get referenced in this match quite a bit. Jim Cornette does, which I don't know if that's a storyline thing or a shoot thing. I don't know.
Yeah, he was a part of Ring of Honor at this time. Jim Cornette was. So
it's part of the story.
It's all part of the story.
Okay. All right. This is interesting. I want to hear the history of these guys from you, Aaron, because I only got to know Sami Zayn when he came over to NXT, and then I'd heard of this El Generico character of his that he had done as a luchador. And to me, I don't know that he's not Latino, from what I understand. I think he's Syrian or Israeli. I'm not sure what his heritage is, but I know he didn't go to Saudi Arabia.
He's a mix of many different things. He's Syrian, Egyptian. He's a lot of different things.
Gotcha. All right, so this is what I want to, and I watched this match. Was incredible. We're definitely going to talk about the match, but I want to hear about the history of these guys. But other than their friendship, how they came into, what do you know about each of them individually, and how he came up with the El Generico character on Sami Zayn's side?
Well, there's this brand of wrestling still out there. I don't know why I said it was gone. It's called Chikara. And they have a lot of it's really out there, like people wrestling in like dinosaur costumes, and it's just a really different alternative style of wrestling that people really enjoy. Very niche as well. But El Generico was really a big star in Chikara Pro Wrestling as well. With the generic luchador. I don't know where that exactly began. I don't know if that was just something where he didn't feel comfortable showing his face, or it was just a funny thing to get a laugh out of people. I'm not sure, but that's really Sami Zayn's style, I'll call him Sami Zayn for this part, but his style is a very luchador based. He does a lot of the big high spots that a luchador would do. So it kind of makes sense. Kevin Steen, on the other hand, has really just been the same. Like, he's just this big guy that's a bruiser, that's a brute, that really doesn't care about you. And that's been his character all along. He's just a badass that'll just beat the hell out of you. That's really where that began.
Right. And he's an unusual cat, Kevin, because he looks to be not in the greatest shape with that, that kind of rotund gut of his. Can't say it any other way than that. But he is so agile, so quick, so high flying in the ring for a guy of his size. Reminds me of the young Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, same thing, kind of a larger dude, but so agile and quick in the ring. And there's a history of professional wrestlers who look on the outside like they may not be physically in what you would consider to be the classic Rick Rude great shape, but they have just great work ethic in the ring. Heart of the Race, another one that had that kind of larger middle section, but still was able to do incredible work as a professional wrestler. So I've always been amazed at Kevin Owens and how he gets over. No matter where he goes, he gets over, and there's nothing flashy about Kevin. Kevin doesn't come out in robes, and Kevin doesn't come out in any of that stuff. He comes out in black leggings or black what do they call thermal tights, shorts, and a shirt with a cutoff sleeves. Very simple approach, just changes what's on the front of his shirt. But no matter where he goes, he gets over like crazy. And with Sami Zayn, same thing. Sami Zayn has a gift to play the El Generico character, to play himself, the ska stuff. All of it gets mixed in for Sami Zayn, and it just works overall. How did they become friends? Do you know anything about their history, or was it just them working together? They got put together in a program, and they just became friends from there?
Well, they both grew up in Canada in that area, or I don't know if Sami Zayn grew up in Canada, but they're both essentially Canadians. Mm-hmm. That's where they lay their head. Kevin Owens is from Quebec, if you will, and then Sami Zayn is kind of from all over the place. But that's where they met, was in the Canadian independence and on that pro wrestling side. Yeah. And they became friends, and then they eventually became tag team partners, which is how they debuted here in Ring of Honor before they started fighting with each other. Yeah. They debuted in Ring of Honor in 2017 as Kevin Steen, of course, and El Generico.
You mean 2007?
2007, yes. Yeah, wow, I was way off. Yeah, that's wrong on my notes. No. But in 2008, they went to the finals of the inaugural ROH Tag Team Title Tournament, where they lost to Jimmy Jacobs and a young Tyler Black, who would go on to be Seth Rollins as we know him today. In September of 2008, Steen and Generico would beat Jacobs and Black to become the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. And then in December, they were defeated by the Young Bucks. And then Kevin Steen turned on El Generico, which caused, of course, this big feud that went on for an entire year. These guys were fighting each other. Wow. It went all the way into December, where Generico would finally beat Kevin Steen in a fight without honor, is what it was called. Mm-hmm. And then Kevin Steen would go on to defeat Davey Richards for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship in May 2012, becoming the first Canadian to ever become Ring of Honor Heavyweight Champion. Pretty cool note there. Then after successfully defending the Ring of Honor Heavyweight title in October, Steen got a package after the match that was an El Generico mask, setting the stage for Final Battle 2012 and this ladder war that we would watch. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the history of these guys, I watched some of the other highlights from the other matches. Just great chemistry with these two guys. Great chemistry. You talk about their friendship. That still endures today. They have been on opposite sides numerous times. They've been together numerous times. It's always fun. I mean, who knows you better than your best friend about how to wrestle you and bring out the best in both of you. This match certainly does that. But leading into the match, I love that they had this rivalry with each other, the mask showing up. I mean, he had been out, according to the guys commentating here, Sami Zayn or El Generico had been out for a few months. Was it a legitimate injury that he had suffered during this feud?
Yes, absolutely. It was a legit shoulder injury, which has really come back to haunt him in the WWE as well. He got injured in his match with John Cena that he had. So it's a lingering issue. El Generico or Sami Zayn or whatever you want to call him has not had the greatest injury history since he's really the past 5 or 6 years. It's not been great for him, which has really unfortunately held him back. I'm glad to see he's really turned that around. We can talk more about that later. So yeah, legit injury for sure.
Okay. And you look at Ring of Honor in 2012. Where is Ring of Honor right now? Is Ring of Honor in 2012, rather, where are they at this time, at this period in their history as a company? Are they just basically a feeder system? Wrestlers come through, when they get hired, they do their work, and then WWE is poaching them all. I mean, what is the approach that Ring of Honor has as a wrestling company in how they handle their business?
There's a lot going on here. I mean, you had Samoa Joe, who was picked away, CM Punk, who was picked away from Ring of Honor, Daniel Bryan was in Ring of Honor, picked away. And then you've had some of these stalwarts like the Briscoes that have never left. And then you had people that came over, like Jay Lethal came over from TNA, and he's been the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion many times and has had long reigns and has had a great career in ROH. There for a minute, it became kind of like, to me, Ring of Honor today is essentially an indie promotion. I know a lot of people will be like, how dare you, but it's really gone down to that way. And they have good people. They have PCO, they have Roosh, they have the villain Marty Scurll, they have Brody King. They have a lot of good wrestlers that are still in Ring of Honor and do great things. But at this time, Kevin Steen is your top guy. And you have El Generico, who's there, Tyler Black, who's getting ready to leave, if he hasn't already, for FCW, which will eventually become NXT. And we know where he goes from there. Jimmy Jacobs would go on to become a WWE agent, like a writer, for a long time. So he was gone. And then you had the new crop would come in about this time. So you had Adam Cole, Adam Cole as we know him today.
Yep, baby.
You had Mike Bennett would come in as well, Matt Taven, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards were still there. So, I mean, you've got a lot of good talent here. It's just at this time, it was, WWE was really developing NXT into something else. And I think a lot of these guys, specifically Kevin Steen and El Generico and Tyler Black or Seth Rollins, saw that there was, maybe some greener pastures ahead and that maybe, this would be my only shot to get there. So I'm going to take the shot.
Yeah, it makes sense all around, and Ring of Honor, Young Bucks were in there as well for a while.
Young Bucks, yeah, of course.
And so you've got so many who've come through the halls of Ring of Honor. It's still out there, still doing its thing. It's still involved with all kinds of stuff, and so it's good to highlight those federations because great wrestling matches rather occur in any federation, and you'll have them if you have the right people, the right chemistry between the wrestlers involved in the ring, and certainly we have that here. Should we get into the match?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's do it. All right, so and let you all know, we have the Streamlabs open. We have the Super Chats open. Send in your questions. Send in your comments about this match or about whatever's going on in the world of professional wrestling as we're revisiting this match and as we're breaking down its legacy as well afterwards for both of the participants in this match and maybe a couple of the commentators like Kevin Kelly, former WWE guy Kevin Kelly. So a lot to talk about, but send in your Streamlabs, send in your Super Chats, ask us some questions as we go along. All right, let's get into it. So Generico comes out first. Once again, this is the first time I've ever seen a match of his from beginning to end. This version of Sami Zayn, El Generico, had no idea, like Bailey, they throw the streamers in as opposed to the little things like this that Bailey has. This was an interesting thing to experience with him. I had no idea this was part of his gimmick.
Well, it's not really part of his gimmick. It's something that dates back to like Japan wrestling, like a lot of Japanese wrestling. It's a sign of respect from the crowd to throw streamers at their favorite superstar. So it's not really an El Generico gimmick. It's just something that they do. They do it. They still do it in Ring of Honor. You'll see it on occasion in the WWE. I think the last time it happened was when they went to Japan. Yeah, and it was Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor. And they threw the streamers at Finn. So, I mean, it does happen from time to time, but it's just a Japanese. It's where the origins are Japanese.
All right on. Well, he comes out, comes into the ring, does the whole face slapping hands to everybody around the ring, jumps into the ring, and then we wait for Kevin Steen and Kevin coming out and doing his thing. And this is a ladder match, and this is at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City, the old school ECW stomping grounds there. And this is, they come out. Anything unusual about Kevin's entrance at all?
I think the music might have been dubbed over, or it was just like super loud. I was like, wow, that's really weird. Something that I did want to note here, Kevin Steen did lose about 25 pounds at this time in Ring of Honor. So he was even bigger before this, but it was like a I don't know, a thing that between him and Jim Cornette. There's a big storied history between those two. If you don't know about it, but if you want to check into that, but yeah, he lost weight coming into this, so he looked good, and he was moving a lot faster than I had noticed before.
Yeah. I thought so too, and he was really agile. But anyway, take us through the match here, Aaron.
So when we start out here, like it's just, El Generico, if you watch Sami Zayn's matches in WWE, he comes out and hits him with his finish right away. Hits him with the haluva kick.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait a second. Because is the match over now? No. The first thing you'll notice about this ladder match is these aren't like WWE ladders that you're like nice polished aluminum ladders that look all nice and shiny. These are like go to 84 Lumber, and I think they threw this in the dumpster a week ago, kind of ladder. Like these are terrible ladders.
Yeah,
I don't know where in
ladders.
the hell they got these ladders, but oh my God. And essentially what happens right away is Generico gets off to a quick start, and then Kevin Steen really quickly comes back and just collapses a ladder with the weight of El Generico. As a matter of fact, it snaps to the point where one of the sides breaks off, and Kevin Steen uses it like a chair, just whipping El Generico with it. And you see the welts on Generico's back because it's really, really hurting him.
Yeah.
And then the commentary table is right next to the ring. It's not like far away like WWE, which is it's weird to see, right?
Right. It's very strange.
Eventually, Kevin Kelly's like, can we move this ladder? Because I'm afraid I'm going to get hit with this ladder. Like, because there's this ladder everywhere. But one of the techniques that I didn't really, I don't really see a lot in ladder matches, but I saw in this one was when Generico was in the ring and Kevin Steen went to get a ladder, he slid it in and hit him in the face with it. He didn't just slide it in. He just slid in and whacked him with it, which I thought was really a cool thing to do. It made it feel like much more brutal.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, this is what was struck me throughout the match. And this is not this is a 30-minute ladder match. What struck me was the amount of blows these guys were taking. And remember, this is 8 years ago when you're looking at the time frame here. So maybe both of them 8 years younger. You know how it is when you're younger. You think your body's indestructible, so you're more willing to take some of the hits directly to your head or to your face. It's amazing what Steen and what Sami Zayn do here, because it looks pretty brutal and very realistic, some of the shots that he's taking. And remember, maybe this is on purpose because look, he's coming back after an 8-month layoff from injury. This is part of the storyline to make it seem as if you're trying to kill him or trying to hurt him or maim him in some way. And the commentator said, Kevin Steen said to them, I'm leaving this match either with the belt or in a box, in a coffin. And so that lets you know the level to which they were playing at here. But it seemed like Generico took advantage at the beginning. And then when Kevin Steen got the advantage, it was for a while that he was just pounding El Generico inside and outside the ring with anything and everything he could.
I like that Kevin Steen, of course, played to the crowd because Generico, of course, is the babyface. And then he, what did he do? He went and grabbed the guy's hand and made him like clap for him, which I thought was really good. And then he went over to one of the guys that had a Generico mask on, and standing beside him was a guy with a Kevin Steen shirt on. He's like, "Oh, why can't you be more like him?" And then he flipped the guy off, which was great. And that was something else that really caught me and made me laugh, is when Generico drop kicks Steen early on in the match. As he's falling down, Steen's just like middle finger, which is really great, which is really just a fun touch. But what's great about this match also is that Steen at one point gets like a huge ladder, like a really tall ladder.
Yeah, the yellow one.
And then Generico gets an even bigger ladder, which is just, it felt very Hardy Boys. And also at one point, they brace a ladder on the barricade in the ring. Yeah. And somebody's going to be going through that ladder, but then Steen gets a table and puts it on top of the ladder, and I'm like, oh geez, this isn't going to be good for anybody. But then Steen's the one who ends up going through it, and Generico couldn't quite muscle him to a good landing spot. Like that did not look good. That looked bad for everybody involved.
I think that was the one spot that I didn't like in the entire match, and I loved the entire match. It was the one spot that I didn't 100% like because it looked kind of clumsy. All the other spots were great. All the other spots were fun to watch and interesting to watch. And they both sold their hits so well against the ladders, or when Sami Zayn or El Generico is getting thrown against the railings, the side railings on the outside twice. It looks incredibly brutal, but also Kevin Steen taking those shots from El Generico, those high-flying shots, the flip over, the DDT, all of it that they administer on each other, especially El Generico on some of those high-flying ones. Steen sells them like crazy. I mean, when he throws him, I think neck first into the ladder on the side of the corner there, you're just like, oh my God, did he really almost destroy this guy's neck? So it's very surprising how neither one of these dudes came out of this with serious injuries.
I think the best move of the second best move of the entire match is when Generico goes for a tornado DDT and Steen counters it into a backbreaker.
Yeah.
And it just looked brutal the way that he did it. It looked great.
Yeah.
And I have to laugh, like you're talking about throwing him into the barricade on the outside. I just have to chuckle because when he throws him into the barricade, it's like it's a Ring of Honor show, man. The crowd's into it, and the thing just collapses.
Yeah.
And nobody cares. Like the crowd's still into it. Like if this was WWE, they'd be giving out free T-shirts because there'd be a lawsuit somewhere. Some fan would get all upset, but not Ring of Honor, man. They just want to be a part of the show, and that's what they did. And those 2-cent barricades weren't really holding up anybody. But man, this match just kept going to the point where you knew something was okay. Like we've done this brutal thing.
Yeah.
They're really throwing these ladders around. What else can you do with a ladder? Like it's not a TLC match. You see one table.
Yeah.
You don't see any chairs. So it really is a ladder war. We're just going to use ladders as weapons.
Right. Yeah. And you see that. Absolutely. I mean, and the tables as well, because because Steen at some point throws El Generico through that table on the side of the ring by the announcer's table as well. So everyone taking their bumps, like you said, he takes that bump with the ladder on the outside and the table on top of the ladder. They all taking the bumps on the ladders in the ring, in the corners, or on the ground. All of that. I mean, doesn't Steen at one point wrap him up into the what do they call the DDT that he does right before he climbs up that ladder, thinking he's finished off El Generico, and then that isn't enough to put Generico out. So both of them just trading incredible blows back and forth, leading to that final thing where they got the two ladders set up, and then they put two other ladders at different heights across from each other, connecting the two ladders, and administers that final DDT, which is insane, because that scared the living hell out of me, that last move, because I'm like, these are not, as you said, Aaron, these are not expensive ladders. These are dangerous ladders to be walking out on. Anything can happen.
Yeah, they brace the ladder. It looks like some kind of jacked up Lego monstrosity. I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, Kevin Steen hits Generico with a package pile driver between two ladders that are standing upright and two that are crossed, making it look just even worse. And the way that Generico falls is perfect.
Yeah,
I didn't like the fact that he moved. He was like twitching. Like, no, don't move. You're dead. Like that would have killed somebody. But the trust that you have to have in Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
The fact that he puts that package pile driver on you, in a normal pile driver, you can kind of brace yourself against the thighs of the person that's giving it to you.
Right.
But when you're taking that package pile driver, your arms are taken away. So you're completely at the mercy of Kevin Owens wanting to put you where he wants to put you. And if for some reason something happens and he slips or something like that happens, dude, you're looking at Broken Neck City.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that Kevin Owens is that good and that safe with it tells you how good of a professional wrestler that he is and how much trust his opponent has to have in him to pull off something like that. It's the same thing with that side sweep DDT that Andrade does, where he the hammerlock DDT, where he wraps up both your arms. Dude, if he drops you wrong, you're in trouble.
Yep.
So it takes a real professional to do something like that. Same thing with that hangman DDT that Randy Orton does. Like, dude, one wrong move and you're going to be hurting. So kudos to Kevin Owens for doing that the right way.
I always think those to add two other moves to this, Daniel Bryan's running kick to the net, that's scary as hell to me, for him too. for me to see him go that high on some as he gets older, it's scary. Scarier every time he pulls that move. And I think Sasha Banks' double knee thing, because she's coming full force for you. If she hits your shoulder wrong or you move your head wrong, that could turn out into a really tragic situation. So yeah, you got to have a lot of trust in the other wrestler, because these moves, although we enjoy them as fans and we're like, oh my God, these other people are actually having these moves put on them, and their lives or their careers could be in jeopardy if they're administered wrong or if something goes wrong. As we saw a couple episodes ago when we reviewed Dark Side of the Ring with Draws, him and D'Lo Brown, just a complete and utter mistake, and that cost Draws, that paralyzed Draws. So those things happen in the ring. So you have to have a certain level of respect and trust, as you just said. It's so different than a leg drop, my man. It's so different than a leg drop in this situation. Another, you mentioned Kevin Steen's acting with the middle finger. I thought that was nice. I also thought Generico Sami Zayn did a fantastic job when he could barely stand up, and he fell outside the ring, and then when he tried to get back in the ring, and he slips and hits face first onto the mat and back onto the ground. I thought this is professional wrestling, character work. Between the moves, between the big spots, this is what separates you from the other wrestlers. Or do you have some interesting, unique, ingenious way to play the moments between the spots? And if you've been hit or you've been destroyed in some way, that makes it interesting to watch, not comical, not a joke, but you just kind of laugh at it because you're like, oh, this is genius. It's brilliant what he's doing. It's almost a wink to the audience. You and I both get it that this isn't real, but let's have some fun with it. And they both had good moments throughout the match of really selling the situations they were involved in terms of pain and hurt.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. But yeah, you're right. I love that spot. I love that he fell out, because I'd never seen that before. Like, yeah, look at that. Something completely different. Like, you see him like slow climb on the ladder. You see wrestlers do that all the time where they're like, oh, they're so hurt they can barely climb up the ladder. Right. But like Generico was hurt so bad he couldn't even get back in the damn ring.
He couldn't get in the ring.
I love that. And then like the last minute he gets up there. And something else that I like too is, in a ladder match when someone's climbing and another wrestler comes in and grabs their leg, pulls them off the ladder, it really sold like Kevin Steen is big. Yeah. So when El Generico goes to pull him off, he can't pull him off the ladder. Right. Because he's so big. And I really like that too, really selling the size difference between the two. I just thought the psychology of this match was pitch perfect. Definitely. Yeah. And that package pile driver, I keep going back to it. And it's such a brutal move to watch. I mean, you want to see a pile driver gone bad, go look at Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Owen Hart and what that did to his career. I mean, it's just one false move. And, Kevin Steen gets the win, retains the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. And this is the last match that we'll see El Generico in Ring of Honor. He's done after this. So,
which is why he took the loss, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. He's done. And according to the lore of El Generico, because, they say El Generico and Sami Zayn are not the same person. Never see them both in the same room together, but they're not the same person. That El Generico was killed by the cartel in Tijuana. So if you ask Kevin Owens, that's what he'll tell you, that El Generico was killed by a cartel in Tijuana, that he is now deceased. So you won't be seeing El Generico at the making the tour, at the autograph tours, the Comic-Cons. I hate to say it, it was not COVID-19. It was unfortunately the cartels in Tijuana that took his life. If only Rambo was there to save him.
It'd be a brilliant thing to add to this is if he was going to these autograph things, but in the coffin. He was essentially have a wake for El Generico at every one of these wrestling conventions.
Just a hand sticking out and signing your autograph. Oh God, it'd be great. It'd be really, really great. That'd just the death of El Generico. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny when there was such a call for El Generico to come back in NXT. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But there was such a big crowd fervor for El Generico to, because there was this one time where Sami Zayn was playing like this wacko character, and he kind of does now. But it was like bring back El Generico is like his split personality. Like how fun would that be? Yeah, the El Generico back, but they just never went with it, and that for me is like you're kind of cutting off someone's creativity right there, because I think that they could have done something cool with El Generico, or maybe they just didn't want to do it. Say that's a Ring of Honor thing, that's not a WWE thing, and they can't market that.
Right.
But I thought that would have been freaking awesome. If
I agree. Well, it's like Matt Hardy and his delete thing. They came as close as you can come to it without officially condoning it. And so maybe they could do that with El Generico. Maybe at some point down the road, Steen gets another, or Owens gets another mask in a box and not knowing what it is. And they kind of harken back to this match and have a classic match between them. I always think it's a crime whenever they're not working a program, to be honest with you, because they're just so good at it. They're just so good at it. The times they've allowed them to do it in the WWE have been incredible to see them work, because they do great promos. Kevin is so believable as a frustrated guy who doesn't get the respect he deserves, because I think that is, in essence, an extension of him as well. And Sami Zayn is so good playing the chill dude, and then the freaked out dude and the angry dude. He's so great at playing those characters when he gets the chance to do that in storyline. So yeah, I would love to see them together again in some form down the road, maybe an El Generico rebirth or whatever. But I had no idea the cartels. Dude, that's just genius. That's just absolute genius. Do you know if there's any racism or racism claims lobbied at Sami's? Of course, he's from, obviously, like you said, he's got heritage from different countries, so it'd be weird to accuse him of racism. But is there a bit of co-opting the lucha thing here? Or because I think it was created, he was created as some, like you just said, like he's just a generic luchador. It wasn't meant to be some big star. He was meant to just be a generic luchador, but it became so much more than that. Have there ever been issues with that from other luchadors?
Not that I've seen. I mean, I think the big deal, or the big thing, is that he's the generic luchador, and he's not trying to live off of that heritage. He's not saying like he's the grandson of Blue Demon or anything like that. He doesn't have like a lineage tied to it that he's trying to hold on to. I think that's a big difference, because in WWE, like for a long time, they have this underneath tag team called El Conquistadors.
Yeah.
Or just Edge and Christian in gold suits with luchador masks on. So there wasn't really any heat about that. Like Kurt Angle even brought it back a couple years ago for a laugh. So I think as long as he didn't tie it to anyone's heritage or anything like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
No one should wear those ever again.
No,
you can see your balls and penis way too visibly in that outfit. And that should not be something I have to endure along with watching my professional wrestling, in my personal opinion. So, all right. So, yeah. So, Kevin Steen gets the victory here, retains the title. Generico moves on to, where does Sami Zayn go after this? How long is Steen in Ring of Honor?
So this would, like I said, this would be El Generico's last appearance in Ring of Honor. He would make his debut in May of 2013. So about, 5 months after he's done with this match, he's in NXT as Sami Zayn, changed his name, and he defeated Kurt Hawkins in his debut. What a surprise. Kurt Hawkins lost a match. In 2014 is when we would see Kevin Owens make his departure from Ring of Honor and come over to NXT as well. He would debut on the same show that Sami Zayn would defeat Adrian Neville to become NXT champion.
Oh, wow.
The night that Sami Zayn became NXT champion,
Kevin Steen, right. Doesn't he come out and challenge him and everything like that?
He sure does. Kevin Steen came out. He had his match earlier against CJ Parker. He beat him. And then, of course, after they have the big woohoo celebration, Sami Zayn's world champion finally. Kevin Owens comes down, hugs him, like, oh, good job, buddy. And then slams him into the ramp and then power bombs him onto the apron. And we're on with another Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn program, which really ends up. Well, quick tidbit. If you go to the NXT show after Sami Zayn wins the championship, there's a spot where he has the belt walking down to the ring and he jumps into the crowd and he's cheering with the crowd. I'm in the crowd. You can see me there. Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
That's right. I'm in there. I'm a big Sami Zayn fan. But, that was cool. But, so Kevin Owens hits him with the apron power bomb. Sami Zayn's like, what the heck's going on? So then it becomes this big thing where 62 days later at the next takeover, Kevin Owens would take on Sami Zayn for the NXT title, and he would beat him again. And the way that he won it was so brutal because there was no pinfall, no submission, no count out, no nothing. He power bombed him so many times that the referee stopped the match.
Oh my God.
And it's absolutely brutal. We probably should talk about that one somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 5 consecutive power bombs that made the referee stop the match. And Kevin Owens became NXT champion, which is really where he had his big reign in WWE. I know he's been, Universal Champion and other things, but when Kevin Owens was NXT champion, he was a damn good NXT champion.
Yeah.
And it kind of stinks that Sami Zayn didn't get a chance to really have a reign. It was about 2 months. He didn't really get a big chance to do much with that, which is kind of a shame. Of course, after this, Sami Zayn would kind of be on the way up to the main roster. Mm-hmm. He would have that crazy good match in Shinsuke Nakamura's debut, which I'm sure we'll talk about somewhere down the road. One of the best matches in NXT history.
Agreed.
Sami is probably one of the top 5 beloved NXT superstars of all time. I would say, bar none. I would say he's up there with Bayley, and Sasha Banks is the most beloved NXT stars that they've ever had. Kevin Owens would keep that NXT title before losing to Finn Balor in that Japan match I was talking about.
Yeah.
Then Kevin Owens would start a main roster feud with John Cena. Sami Zayn would capture his first singles title, the Intercontinental Championship, just a few months ago at Elimination Chamber when he beat Braun Strowman, and then he defended the title this past month at WrestleMania against Daniel Bryan. And of course, Kevin Owens has won the Intercontinental title, the U.S. title. He's been Universal Champion. He's really done it all so far in his WWE tenure. Of course, he just had that hell of a match with Seth Rollins where he jumped off the WrestleMania sign.
Yeah,
and now he's doing the stunner. And things are on the way up here. It wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the year, Kevin Owens is champion again. Just the way that they go with him. I think they like him. I think they like what he does. He's a great talker. Mm-hmm. He's a great wrestler. He's got the entire package. They just need a little boost of someone to get behind him enough to push him to be champion again.
Yeah. We'll see it. I mean, Lord knows he's had his runs. He's had his runs way more than Sammy's had, as you just mentioned. He's had his runs with numerous titles to get over, and there's that frustration of how he was being booked, and there were rumors that he was going to leave when his contract was up. There was all kinds of stuff which kind of echoed into the issues he had with Jim Cornette when he was at Ring of Honor, the real issues they had that both of them have spoken about on numerous podcasts and gone into detail. And you can choose whatever side you want on that one. But yeah, so certainly there was issues there. So that was kind of playing out possibly again with the WWE. But you're right, he may have just turned that corner, and it seems like this is where he's going. And they might be looking at him because I don't know how long McIntyre, to be honest with you, as much as I enjoy McIntyre, I just don't see him as the long-term answer here. I don't necessarily see Kevin Owens a long-term answer, but I certainly see him as a better answer than McIntyre because the fans seem to have more of love for Owens than they do for McIntyre, in my opinion, because Owens looks like one of them. Like he literally radiates that you could totally hang out with that guy somewhere watching wrestling. Do you know what I'm saying? McIntyre is a dude's all chiseled and big, the long hair, he's the dude you see at the bar and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to talk to this guy, so there's just a difference here. And I certainly could see that happening for Kevin Owens for a while with the WWE. We'll see. He's been Universal Champion. We'll see if they will give him the WWE Championship and give him a run with that as well. So I hear what you're saying.
I can see him doing it. The thing I don't like about Kevin Owens right now is he does the stunner, which it's not like a thing about Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't really care about that, but it's like it just doesn't look right on him doing it. I don't know how to explain it otherwise, because I guess Stone Cold is so synonymous with that. And maybe there are younger fans out there that didn't know of Stone Cold, like watch him wrestle, like maybe they've only seen highlights. And that doesn't bother them, but I don't know. For some reason, it bothers the hell out of me. Like, I hate that it's finisher. I thought the pop-up powerbomb that he does was much more brutal. Way cooler.
I agree.
Way cooler move to do. And it's just not one of my favorites. I do like what they're doing with Sami Zayn, though. Like, he, as Intercontinental Champion, he's like kind of this weaselly butthole that has this group with Nakamura and Cesaro, and they're the Artist Collective. And they're just like these weirdo, like outsider goth guys that come in and beat you, and they're just annoying little punks. Like, you just want to beat the hell out of them. Yeah. I did read this week that Sami Zayn apparently is really hard to deal with backstage. And
no, really?
Yeah, and not in the sense of like he wants pushed or he wants this or wants that, but apparently, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, he's got a lot of causes that he's into. Syrian causes and things like that. And And I think like pushing that kind of stuff maybe puts off people, and that's what it is, perhaps. But from all the times I've met him, I've got to meet Sami Zayn a handful of times in NXT shows. Always a great dude. Got nothing bad to say about him. And I do want to mention a little something about Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen. Before he was, on TV as Kevin Owens, you go to these NXT shows and they're not in, like, of course you have Full Sail University, which isn't big at all. It's a 200 seat like TV studio. So you go to these house shows. If you want to go on the house show loop, they're in like the YMCA, like the Armory, like there are these small intimate venues. And then after the show, you can, go to your car or whatever. But the wrestlers will be there. All the NXT wrestlers from top to bottom, except for the ladies, they don't do this.
Yeah.
They break the ring apart and they load the ring up into the truck from the NXT champion down.
Wow.
So it's not just like the lower underneath guys that are doing this. It's, Kevin Steen's out there, Finn Balor's out there loading up the ring, taking it 2x4 by 2x4 and putting it back in the truck, which I think is like a good way to kind of break in some discipline there.
Yeah.
But I remember being at one of these shows and there's Kevin Steen and he hasn't debuted yet, but I know it's Kevin Steen because I, watch Ring of Honor and I'm like, holy crap, it's Kevin Steen. And this kid comes up, he's probably like 8 years old. He goes, oh my God, Kevin Steen, I love all your matches in Ring of Honor. And you think that, oh God, this kid's about to get a middle finger. Yeah. And then Kevin just walks over there and he's like, hey bud. And he kind of goes down to his level, signs everything that he's got. And he's just like, all right, man. Well, hopefully I'll be on TV soon. You can watch me all over the world again. So just that kind of guy, man. Just the most personable kind of guy. Seems like he might be the biggest dick in the world, but he's so cool and so nice. And I think the world of him. I really do.
Well, and you should. I mean, I remember seeing the video recently, a few months ago. Actually, a few months ago, not recently, but a few months ago, where him and Shania Twain had an interaction at one of her concerts. It's incredible. That Kevin Owens, he's not trying to promote anything. He's not there representing the WWE. He's just there at a concert. Now, they might have, I'm sure they probably worked something out ahead of time, his people and her people, to kind of highlight that situation. But he certainly played it up really well, and she went along with it and then dismissed him quickly. And I thought that was brilliant. That. And that's what, because she's at a whole another level. As great as Kevin can be, he's not at Shania Twain level. And so with her history and her hits and records and stuff, but it was funny to see that situation. And Kevin took it, and Kevin rolled with it, and he was very humble about it, and that kind of endeared me to him as well. So yeah, two good guys going at it with great chemistry here on this episode of Strong Style. Fun to revisit this match. Fun to see that they're still doing it, and maybe both getting kind of separate pushes again, and maybe down the road, the IC versus the WWE Heavyweight Champion. Who knows? Could be another Warrior versus Hogan situation, title for title match down the road. That would be fun to see. Any final words on this one, Aaron?
For this match, I think it's interesting that the Ring of Honor website calls it one of the best matches of the decade. I don't know if I would go that far, but okay. I mean, maybe. I guess in terms of rivalry, it was. In terms of overall function, it's a fun match to watch. I don't know if there's a lot of necessarily technique in it. I don't think it's a 5-star classic, but in terms of entertainment, I think it's definitely a 4.5-star classic.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Watch.
But I love both of these guys, and to see them before they really got going was a real treat.
Yeah, agreed. We had one Streamlab come in. Hill Nell donated some money. He said, you nailed it. Their constant high level of character work in the ring, especially Steen/Owens, is why they're always so over, in my opinion. Package Todd pile driver on the ladders still gives me chills. Yeah, absolutely. I saw it for the first time, and my girlfriend walked in. She's like, what are you yelling about? Because I just went, damn, like this really loud, because I thought, he'd killed him. He'd actually killed him, as JR might say. This is real quick about thoughts on FTR mention on being elite this week. What's the FTR mention? What does that mean?
So the Revival. So you have the Revival that recently were released from the WWE. They were finally referenced on Being the Elite, which is the YouTube show that the Young Bucks started, and Cody's on it, and Hangman Adam Page. It's just like it's like a comedy show / like behind the scenes look at AEW and what the guys are doing. It's really entertaining, but if you're like just getting into it, it's really hard to get caught up. So the Revival finally got mentioned on this week's episode. I don't think it's any surprise that the Revival, or whatever they're going to call themselves, are going to show up in AEW. I think that was the plan all along.
Yeah.
Once they got their releases, that's exactly where they were going. They've had this internet feud going on with the Young Bucks, and they've been mentioned on Being the Elite before.
Yeah.
When the Young Bucks said, "Who are the Revival?" Fuck the Revival, which is kind of why FTR got started. Right. So,
right,
and all that kind of jazz. But I think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to see the Revival and the Young Bucks tear it up somewhere down the road for sure.
That'd be fun. Maybe we'll cover it someday on Strong Style. That'd be a lot of fun. All right. Well, Aaron, where can they find you and everything that you got going on, my man?
You can find me on Twitter at only Aaron Turner. I did dress up as Kevin Owens for Halloween a couple of years ago. I looked really good, and I'll repost that at some point. And follow me on there. Come for the wrestling talk. Stay for the dog picks. We'll talk. We'll have some fun. A few laughs. It'll be great.
I like it. He's a good follow, Aaron is. Real quick, Aaron, what's our match for next week?
Okay, let me just go ahead and give you the whole slate. Because I dropped the slate for the next month or so. So
you did.
Next week we're going to have – I like to give everybody some homework in advance to give you time to watch it, especially with states opening back up. People going back to work, you may not have time. But
write this down.
Exactly. Write this down. So you've got Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, Halloween Havoc 1997. That's going to be next week.
Yeah.
And then somewhere that we're probably going to mix them up down the road. They're all kind of jumbled. So you're going to have CM Punk versus John Cena from Money in the Bank, which Roka and I were talking about a couple days ago off the air about how good that match is. So that's going to be one of them we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. And then we're also going to have from Chi-Town Rumble 1989. Woo! A lot of you guys have been asking for this. It's going to be Ric Flair defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in what is thought to be one of the greatest matches of all time. Can't wait to watch that one. And then, of course, we're going to have Rob Van Dam, Mr. Monday Night, Mr. Friday Night, Mr. Pay-Per-View, the whole effing show. Rob Van Dam against Jerry Lynn from Living Dangerously, our first ECW match that we're covering. So that's going to be exciting. Maybe, Roka, since you're friends with Rob now, maybe we can get him on the program. And he can tell us where to get some of that RVD CBD. But that's the slate. If you need to see it, it's pinned to my Twitter page. If you want to get you just need to write that down. I'm excited for the next month. The Strong Style match is going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun. I don't know what. Sure, man. That was basically him the whole time for an hour on our live watch along for WrestleMania. So funny, so funny. Oh, and just to give you a little heads up, we might be announcing something. Chris Burns reached out to me. There might be something coming up where I may be a guest on a show of his coming up that. Might be looking out. He hasn't announced it yet, but just look out for it. It might happen this Saturday. So I don't know yet, with all the moving parts and everything like that, it's just kind of, I'll just put it out there in people's ears. There might be something coming down the road, wrestling wise, with me and him as well. So great. Yeah. As Hill Nellums just said, great picks. For our next 4 weeks. Can't wait to talk about all these matches. And Aaron, it's always great doing the show with you, brother. Love revisiting the stuff. Love your knowledge and history, and just being able to kind of talk about all these matches with you is always great, man. One of my favorite parts of the week. So thank you for that. Follow me at The Roka Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Please subscribe to the Outlaw Nation channel as well down below there. We just crossed 13,000 subscribers pretty quickly from 12 to 13. So thank you so much. Now let's start marching to 14 with that overall goal of crossing 20. And then from there, sky's the limit, really. And so give us a subscription there and, see all the great content we got on here on the Outlaw Nation, all the live streams, all the pre-produced content, and all of it is available in podcast form. So let's say you stumble upon this YouTube show and you're like, oh, wow, this is great. I want to listen to other episodes, but I don't want to watch all the other episodes. You can go to the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network. Every single episode of Strong Style is on there for you to listen to. Or if you want to hear us talk about the match again, you can listen to it there as well. It'll download sometime tonight for people to consume and enjoy as well. All right, that's it. I'm done, I think. Yeah. Oh, and follow me at The Roka Says right there. There it is. There it is. And of course, my patreon.com/John Roka. I'm going to have a 4 p.m. Discord talk with the fans for about an hour later on today. Tomorrow on camera, 6 or 7 p.m. on Blue Jeans as well. So come get on board the Outlaw Nation train, and we'll have some fun. All right, take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next time on a brand new episode of Strong Style.